In this video, I'm going to demonstrate our software product, CijiCue. This is a Windows-based application that easily allows you to connect any data source to your Continuous Inkjet Printer. So we'll go ahead and start up CijiCue. First, it's going to verify if there's a new version to download. If there is, you'll be presented with a dialog to either allow you to apply the new version or you can skip it. Then it's going to check to see if you're running a licensed copy of CijiCue or under evaluation mode. Evaluation mode is fully functional as the licensed copy, with the exception of you're limited to 10 print jobs and 20,000 print records per job. Then it's going to finally check to see if the last print job that ran, did it complete successfully. If it did not, such as due to a hardware failure or a power outage, CijiCue will then direct you to our checkpoint processing, and you can watch our video on checkpoint processing for more details. Now CijiCue is started, and it's reminding me that I'm running the evaluation copy of CijiCue, and I only have 5 jobs left under my evaluation period. So I'll click OK. Here's our active jobs for restart screen. Anytime you create a new job and you start printing and you stop it in the middle or to where it didn't finish completing, go into normal EOJ, it will stay in the active jobs for restart for you to allow you to restart at any time in the future. If you don't want that job anymore, all you have to do is check the selection and delete the jobs, and they're gone for good. Now we'll go ahead and create a new print job. Go to File, New Print Job. Since I'm running under the evaluation copy of CijiCue, I have the option of running in normal mode or simulation mode. Simulation mode is for those users who have not purchased a CiJ printer yet they want to test CijiCue to see how it connects to their data sources and how it will map their data fields to the message fields. Simulation mode is fully functional as normal mode, with the exception of any communications to the printer are bypassed. So we'll go ahead and leave it in normal mode. We'll give our print job a name, test CSV, since I'm going to demonstrate a comma separated values example. It can be any name you want, up to 20 characters. Then you'll select the printer manufacturer. I only have Citronics. We'll select the printer model. In this case, we'll go with the CI3650. Next, we have to tell CijiCue, are we going to connect via the serial port or TCP/IP? So we'll take serial port. We'll have to tell it what COM port our cable is plugged into. I only have one option, so COM5 is it. If there were 2 listed, you could go to your computer, Properties, Device Manager, and then under Ports, COM, and LPT settings, expand that, and it'll show you the cables that are currently plugged in and active to help you identify the COM port to select. The Advanced button just shows you the settings for the serial port. Those are all pre-configured from the printer config file. Those should never change. And that's all there is for serial port. Next, we'll try this TCP/IP connection. If this was the first time I was connecting to the printer, this would be blank and I would have to fill in the IP address. Once I fill that in, it will remember that for that printer model for any job created after that. These handshake and command ports are pre-filled by the printer config file and should never change. So now we'll click Find Printer. Shows connection successful and the printer was found. Now we have to tell CijiCue what mode are we going to run that printer in. Is it going to be 1-for-1, normal, or measurement? CijiCue was written and designed for 1-for-1. However, we've had a client where they wanted CijiCue to go to a Microsoft SQL Server database, pull in a message, pull the data out of that database for a 233 character message on the printer. And they just wanted CijiCue to take and prime that data on the message, and then the printer would sit there and print over and over and over and over again until that production run was done. And that example was for a cable wire company. So we're going to go ahead and leave our print mode in 1-for-1 mode and leave the auto print disabled. We'll connect to the printer. It's now going out and pulling off all the messages and the fields defined within each message. Now we're presented with the data sources we can connect to. So we'll start with the Ciji custom database. This is an add-on to CijiCue that any client can give us their specifications of how they want their numbers defined. They can have any prefix, any suffix, any range in between. We can pull those numbers out randomly. We can pull those numbers out sequentially. These databases can house up to 260 million records. When you select the Ciji custom database, it will show you the total number of records in the database. Since I have a demo version loaded, there's only 2.5 million records. How many records have already been printed and how many numbers are available. This print option, end of day. If this is checked, that's just letting you know that CijiCue has overridden the number of print records to a limit of 2.5 million records maximum. So like if you're printing using a job to print from a custom database that has 260 million records, we're not going to let you print 260 million records at one time. It's only going to limit you to 2.5 million records at most. And that should equate to about 24 hours worth of print time. And then under evaluation mode, you're going to be limited to 20,000 records. So here we would just load our records and then go into our message setup. Next, we want to talk about the Microsoft SQL Server. Once you click on that, it's going to go out onto your network and look for all the SQL Server instances it can find. If it will show a drop-down box of all the servers it found. If it shows the server and the instance, then the SQL browser service was turned on, and you can just select the server you want to connect to, an instance. If it only listed the server and not the instance, you can change this to no. This changes to a text box, and you can key in the server and the instance you want to connect to. Then you have to tell it what security you're going to use, Windows NT or SQL Server. Windows NT would just be your normal network password you log on with, and SA SQL Server, or SQL Server security, would be the username password your database administrator would tell you to use. So I'm going to go ahead and use key my username, password. Press connect. If the credentials were successful, it will list all the databases within the instance selected. Go ahead and select the database. If you're not authorized for that database for the user ID password keyed in, it will let you know. Just click OK. Go back and select the database you're authorized for. Then you'll be presented with a list of tables within that database. Select the table you want to pull your data from. Then you're presented with the data filtering options. If you want to pull all the records in the table, then just click the Process Table button, and it'll pull all the records for printing. If you want to filter your records, you can select anywhere from 1 to 3 fields. For every field you select, it's going to do AND logic on each one. So each field criteria has to be a true condition in order for the record to qualify for printing. So we'll select the product, sales number, and work order. If you know the values, you can key the values in right here. If you don't know the values, just check the Show Field Values, and it'll do a distinct list of what's in the database. Then you can just select your values this way. Once you have your field values selected, click the Process Table. Number of records to print will be the records that qualified for printing. And in this example, it was for that cable wire. I only needed the 1 record. I would hit my Load Records and go on into the message setup. Next, we got Microsoft Access, Microsoft Excel. These 2 options aren't available yet. They will be in the near future. And last, we've got the comma-separated values file. This is probably the most common data source people connect to. First, we want to make sure that our import field delimiter is set properly. It defaults to a comma. If we go out and look at our file we're going to import, and open it in Notepad. we'll see we have two fields and they're separated by a comma, and my first record has field names. So I'll go ahead and leave this as a comma. If I had fields that had to have commas embedded within the field, and I want those commas printed on the printer, then I would have to select a different field delimiter than a comma. I would have to use a semicolon or a vertical bar, and then change that value here to accordingly. So we'll go ahead and click the Browse button. It'll ask, is the first record of your file contain field names? In my example it does, so we'll say yes. Go back and open up the file. It'll tell you it found one record with 0 length. This varies, and then it has a total records process was 1500. Well, I know that counts right, so I'm going to go ahead and go with it. So it's going to load 1500 records to be printed. It's going to give a preview of the first 1000 records. So the two things you want to check here is that the field delimiter is working properly when it imported, that it did recognize two fields and they separated, and two, the first data record got recognized as field names. In this case, this all looks good, so we'll go ahead and hit the load the records. We're now presented with the message setup. We need to select the message off of the printer we want to send our data to. In this case, it'll be the two fields message. It will map the first field of the database to the first field of the message field for you automatically and tell you you've got one remaining field to be mapped, so we'll just click New Field Map. Drop down, select the second field of our database and map it to field 2 of the message. If I want to switch the orders of these two, I can. I can say let the date stamp be first and let the product be second. Doesn't matter. If I wanted to print the product in both of them, we could do that. So now we're ready to go. We don't have any more remaining fields that need to be mapped. So now we'll go ahead and click Save Print Job Configuration. Since I'm in the evaluation copy, it's reminding me I'm about to use one of my 5 remaining jobs for the evaluation period, so I'll say OK. It's now loading the records into CijiCue's SQL database under its control, and then it will load it up into a print array to be able to send it to the printer. Now we're presented with the CijiCue console. We can go ahead and press play or start. That'll send the start jet command to the printer and the enable print. The jet will take about 30-45 seconds to charge up. Once that does, we just need to wait for the production line to start. So over here we have statistics that CijiCue will calculate the estimated prints per second. This is the total photo cells it counted within a second, and the total prints acknowledged received from the printer within a second. Then you'll have the overall total prints received from the printer, total count, and the total photo cell count here, and then the offset between these two. And if this offset goes negative, then that presents an issue called a p-blank, and it will log a p-blank entry down here into the log, and that tells us that the production line is probably running faster than what CijiCue can keep up with on the printer. And that causes the printer to miss printing on a product on the product line. There's a video called What is P-Blank if you want to check that out and have more details, and it gives you situations of why that occurs and then how to deal with it. Okay, so now the orange bar went away, so that tells us the jet charged up and it's ready to go. So we'll go ahead and start the production line and get it up to 10 prints per second. And now CijiCue is going to calculate an estimated time of when that this job will finish printing, and an estimated remaining job duration in hours, minutes, and seconds. So now we can just let this run until it prints off 1500 records. Go to normal EOJ, mark the job as inactive, or we can go ahead and pause it and then stop it for the rest of the day. Because there's still records to print, it'll leave it in the active job queue so it can be restarted later if we want. And that's it. All we need to do is exit CijiCue. One other note is when you press the pause and stop button on CijiCue, it does not affect the production line. It only disables the print on the Citronics printer, or stops the jet on the Citronics printer. So that's it. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to check out other videos regarding CijiCue. And thanks for watching.